I just built a complete email marketing strategy, campaign calendar, segmentation plan, flow roadmap, 20 subject lines, all using Claude. And I'm going to show you exactly how I did it, prompt by prompt. If you're an e-commerce founder who knows email marketing should be a priority, but never seems to know where to start, this video fixes that. Hey, I'm Amy from Sync Savvy Digital. I help e-commerce founders get their email marketing working properly, consistently, and without taking over their life. One quick thing before we dive in, I have a free resource called the Claude Email Playbook. It's the exact prompts I'm using in this video, plus a Google Sheet template to put your strategy straight into. Completely free, link is in the description and pinned in the first comment. Okay, so here's what we're covering today. Why Claude is genuinely good at email strategy and how to brief it properly. The 5 prompts I use to build a complete strategy from scratch. A live walkthrough, real prompts, real outputs, real edits. The critique loop that stress tests everything before you use it, and what to do with the strategy once you have it. By the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to sit down with Claude this afternoon and walk away with a strategy that's actually ready to use. Before we get into the prompts, you're probably asking why Claude? Why not ChatGPT or any of the other tools? Honestly, you can use any tool for this, but Claude is my preference for strategy work, and that is for 3 reasons. So first, the context window. Claude can hold a lot of information at once, and that means that you can paste in your brand details, your product range, your audience description, and it holds all of that while it builds your strategy, and it doesn't forget what you told it 3 prompts ago. The second reason is brand voice matching. Give Claude a good example of how you talk, and it gets really close to sounding exactly like you, so you only need to do a few small edits. That matters because a strategy that sounds nothing like your brand is a strategy that you'll probably never use. Third is it's genuinely good at nuanced thinking. So you tell it to write urgency without being pushy, be promotional but not salesy. Those are hard briefs, and Claude seems to handle them really, really well. So great context, strong brand voice matching, good strategic judgment, and that's a combination that we're going to use today. So the biggest mistake people make with AI is going in with nothing. So the more context you can give Claude or ChatGPT or whoever you're using, the better everything that follows. So this first prompt that we're going to give Claude is the brand brief, and it's the foundation of the whole session. So make sure you don't skip this, and make sure you put in a little bit of time to actually write this prompt correctly. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll grab our prompt, and I've already populated it with some information about a brand that I've made up. So it's not an actual brand. So I'll pop this in here. So what we want to tell Claude is the brand name, what we sell, price point, target customer, our current situation. So this particular store has been running for 8 months. They have a list of around 600 subscribers and have only sent 3 campaigns in total, which were all promotional. So there's no automated flows set up yet, and open rates from the campaigns that we have sent are around 38%. So the goal that we're going with today for this particular brand is to build a consistent email presence, set up core automated flows, and start treating the email list as a real revenue channel rather than an afterthought. One of the really important things that we have in here is please confirm you have everything you need before we start. So Claude will look at that, and it will come back and ask you any questions. If something in here doesn't make sense or there's something missing, we will know about it. So we'll send that one. Okay, so we've got our foundation here, and now we're going to build on this and create our first section of our strategy, which is our campaign calendar. You'll notice here that Claude will ask you questions in terms of what you want to do next. You can ignore those for now. So I'm going to grab our second prompt, which is for our campaigns, and pop that in here. So based on the brand brief I gave you, give me a 4-week calendar for Sol & Co. Now, what you need to put in here is you need to make sure that this is relevant to what's achievable for you. So you might have a marketing expert tell you that you need to be sending every second day, or you need to be sending, 2 or 3 times a week. What you need to be doing is what is achievable for you. There's no point coming in here and putting in 3 emails a week, when one email a week is the most that you can mentally and physically handle. Sending a campaign consistently is better than sending 10 campaigns in 1 month and then 0 for 6 months. So it's what's achievable for you. So in about 30 seconds, we have a full month of email ideas with angles, subject lines, goals, and hopefully that will alleviate that blank page problem. So we will be running a critique loop on this. So this campaign calendar may not be suitable for all brands, and it may just be a surface level brain dump of what Claude's got. So we're going to ask Claude to critique itself. But before we do that, we're going to look at segmentation. So building a campaign calendar and not knowing who you're sending that campaign to is basically like if you were to have a dinner party, invite a bunch of friends over that you didn't know very well, and you didn't ask people if they had any allergies or preferences of, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, it could end in disaster. So basically, if you don't segment your list, you're going to alienate people, and then that's when they unsubscribe. So straight after we do the calendar, we don't really need to do too much with what's produced so far because, as I said, we're going to run a critique loop on that. So for our segmentation prompt, we're going to pop in this one. So now I want you to look at this campaign calendar and tell me who each email should be sent to. Don't assume we should blast everyone. And be specific, name the segments, define what makes someone qualify for each. Send that one. So we'll look at what Claude's done here. So it hasn't just named the segments, it's told us which campaigns go to which people and why. So you can see here in this table. So we've got week 1, why we started Soul & Co. We're sending it to a full list and why. What actually makes a shoe comfortable, engaged, plus non-purchases. And that's because it's a value and educational ideal for prospects who haven't bought yet. Purchasers who already believe in the product, they don't need convincing. Skip the unengaged here to protect deliverability now that you're into regular sending. One thing worth flagging here, and Claude hasn't mentioned it in this particular case, but is list size. So if your list is under 1,000, be careful not to over-segment. Sending a campaign to 30 people isn't a marketing campaign. It's basically like you're in a group chat. So start with 2 segments if your list is under 1,000, which is your engaged and your unengaged. You can set up things like 30-day, 90-day, 60-day engaged and select them as well in your send to section of your campaigns. That just gives you an idea of who's actually opening, clicking, purchasing, and that might surprise you. So now we're going to run the critique loop, and this time we're stress testing the calendar and the segmentation together. So review the campaign calendar and segmentation strategy together critically. Are the segments realistic? Is the segmentation going to leave some campaign sending to too small an audience? Any assumptions? What's missing? And specific fixes. Okay, so what's solid? The content mix is genuinely good. Instinct to protect deliverability, overreach is also right. So what doesn't hold up? As I mentioned, the segmentation is too granular for the size of the list. So it just goes through some of the assumptions that it's made as well. Biggest understated assumption is that the list of 600 is reasonably healthy, and that may not be the case. The second assumption is that Klaviyo has good profile data. If the Shopify sync was configured but never tested, you might find that purchase history, browse data aren't populating clearly on profiles. That's very unlikely, but I guess it must happen for the fact that Claude's suggesting that it could be. So specific fixes, simplify to 2 sending segments. So just sending to engaged and unengaged or active and dormant. Run a list audit, so go through and see how many bounced profiles you've had, how many unengaged, and you can keep them separate. Don't build a VIP segment just yet. The strategy is directionally right, but was built slightly ahead of where the data actually is. So because this is a very new brand, it's not a huge list. it's picking up that maybe some of the things that it said aren't quite suitable. And it's saying that in 3 months of consistent sending, the segmentation can get genuinely sophisticated. And right now, clean and simple beats precise and fragile. And the other thing to note here when we run a critique loop is that if Claude comes back and says, no, everything looks fine, that's great, push back against it and send another message saying, are you sure? Maybe you need to look harder, because 9 times out of 10, if you do that, you'll get a more useful response. Okay, so we've drafted the calendar, we've done some segmentation, and we've put it through the critique loop, and we're going to move on to the flow strategy now. So campaigns are the emails that you plan, schedule, send at a specific date, time. It's like a manual process. But flows are what run automatically in the background. So thinking like welcome flow, abandoned cart, post-purchase, win back, all of those sort of things. They're the ones where you start getting passive revenue from. And this is what's working in the background while you're still doing everything else. So the prompt here is, now I want you to map out the flow strategy for Sol & Co. List the 5 flows that we should set up in priority order with the name of the flows, triggers, how many emails, the goal of each, and a rough email sequence. Start with the highest impact flows first. We're building for an e-commerce brand on Klaviyo and Shopify. We've already told that in the brand brief, but we're just reiterating it. And keep in mind, this is a considered purchase brand. So once we send that, we're given a list of prioritized from most important flows that need to be set up. So we've got a welcome series that is designed to earn trust, introduce the brand's values, create the condition for a first purchase without rushing it. So suggesting 5 emails over 14 days, and it's giving us an idea of what each email should contain and time frames. So abandoned cart, post-purchase, browse abandonment, win back. And it's giving us a few things that are worth calling out about the brand. So 5 emails over 14 days feels a lot for this brand. A customer spending $180 on sandals is not going to buy after 1 email. Most brands lead with a discount in email too, but don't do this. The second email here leads with frequently asked questions. In our abandoned cart flow, our post-purchase sequence 60 days before the cross-sell is intentional. She needs to have worn the shoes, love them, and reach a natural moment of what else do they make before you show her more products. On build order, set up flow 1 and 2 first. These welcome series start working the moment a new subscriber joins, and the abandoned cart is your highest direct revenue recovery tool. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to run our critique loop again on this particular strategy in terms of flows and see what Claude says after that and see what the assessment looks like. Okay, so assumptions that may not hold. The browse abandonment flow assumes Klaviyo can reliably identify who's browsing. So that's just a technical thing. It's just saying make sure that you're collecting the correct data. Post-purchase flow assumes order data from Shopify includes enough detail. Generally it will, because it's coming through from Shopify to Klaviyo through the integration. The welcome series assumes new subscribers are genuinely new to the brand, curious but uncommitted. Some won't be. A customer who just bought her first pair and then signed up for the newsletter shouldn't receive a 14-day acquisition sequence, treating her like a prospect. The win-back timing, 90 days, assumes your subscribers have been receiving emails regularly, so just keep that in mind. On timing days, the welcome series timing is broadly right, but email 3, the craft and material deep dive, lands on day 5, which is probably a day too early. So it's now looking at the customer and the customer journey in conjunction with the flows that we're setting up, and it's giving us feedback on why certain things won't work and what to try instead. So what's missing? There's no flow for the subscriber who purchased during the welcome series. There are also no considerations for what happens after the post-purchase flow ends. The abandoned cart flow has no exit condition for customers who purchase between emails. And then it goes on to show you some suggested fixes. And the flow architecture is sound. The gaps are mostly in edge cases. What happens when someone purchases mid-flow? What happens when the data isn't as clean as assumed? And all of that sort of thing. So the next thing that we're going to move on to is our last prompt, and that is our subject line bank. The thing that most people forget is the subject line, and realistically, it's one of the most important parts of your email marketing. So subject lines are the things that determine whether someone actually opens the email, and most people don't spend enough time thinking about it. It's an afterthought, and they just pop something in there and they send it, but it is literally the most important thing to think about. So this is the last prompt that we'll pop in for actually generating our email strategy. So we've got write me 20 subject lines, mix of styles, curiosity, directional, personal, urgency, without being pushy or spammy. And we've just put in a little bit of reiteration here about the brand, maximum 50 characters each and no emojis. So unless you use emojis all the time, you need to tell Claude what you want it to do. So it's going to give you 20 subject lines in the 4 different styles. So curiosity based, the shoe that changed how we walk, what most brands don't put in their shoes, why she still wears the same pair daily. Direct, shoes that feel as good as they look, style you won't have to take off at 3 p.m. Personal, the pair I reach for every single morning, the one style I couldn't stop thinking about. Urgency, a few pairs left, we won't be restocking this one. This style tends to go quietly. Now we're going to run the critique loop. So like we did for the flows and the campaigns. So review these subject lines critically. Which ones don't actually sound like the brand? Which ones are too generic? Which ones are risky because they're pushy or salesy? And replace the weakest ones with stronger options. So it's given us a list of those that work, and then it's given us a list of those that are problems. We come down here and it's going to give us replacement options. So if you want to read through why it's suggesting a particular subject line isn't a good idea, you can read that in the section above. But we've got the original here is shoes that feel as good as they look. And the problem is that it's generic. Replacement with these took 2 years to get right. Comfort that doesn't ask you to compromise. Category copy, not brand voice. You shouldn't have to choose. So that's what it's saying to replace it with. Fewer shoes, worn more, here's how. Clunky construction, suggesting to replace it with the case for buying less, better. The pattern in the weaker ones. Most of the weaker lines are describing what the brand wants to say rather than what the customer actually thinks or feels. The test worth applying to every subject line before it goes out. Would this feel at home in a text message from a friend who loves shoes? So that's just something, it's giving you something extra to think about. So the last thing we're going to do is ask Claude to pull all of this information together into an easy to copy and paste format that we can put into our email strategy template. So if you want a copy of the prompts and the email strategy Google Sheet, the link is below. So what I'm going to do is paste this prompt in here. So it's going to ask it to format it exactly how it needs to be to pop straight into our email strategy sheet that we can keep and refer back to later. So I'll pop that one in. And the first section here is our campaign calendar. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to come into our campaign calendar tab of our spreadsheet and paste it in there. So what that's doing is it's giving us a clear calendar to follow so that we can make sure that we're sending out our campaigns regularly. And then it's helping us keep track. So we've got our campaign calendar, segmentation, flow strategy, subject line. The prompts are in here so that you can refer back to them later, and a pre-sent checklist. So if we go back to Claude, you'll see that it's put everything into its own table. So it's easy to copy and paste straight into the spreadsheet there. Okay, so let's recap what we just built together. So a 4-week campaign calendar. We've drafted it, segmented it, and stress tested it. A segmentation strategy, so the right people get the right emails. A flow roadmap, prioritized and adjusted for how this brand's customers actually buy. A 20 subject line swipe file with weak ones replaced. And just remember, you can update that prompt whenever you like to create more subject lines and stress test it. So, what we've got is a complete email marketing strategy. And you'll notice how much longer the conversation is that we just had with Claude if you scroll back through all of the prompts than if you were to just put one long prompt at the top with all of the information. Um, it's because of the critique loops doing their job, and that every time we pushed Claude to stress test its own work, the output got better. And because everything lives in one conversation, you can just keep going with it. So, write emails, adjust the tone, rewrite the subject line. The context is all still there inside that one conversation. So, one thing that I do want to be honest about is that Claude is not a strategist you can outsource your thinking to. It doesn't know your brand the way that you do. And I can't see your Shopify data, your return rate, the reviews your customer leave, or how your specific audience behaves. And that's the same with Claude. It will make assumptions. Some of it will be wrong. The critique loop does catch a lot of that, but not all of it. So still bring your brand knowledge. You're still the one who reads the output and says, does that sound like us? Or how would our customer respond to that? So what Claude does is it's helping you to remove the blank page. So when you sit down to send an email and you can't think of what to send, Claude is the thing that will prompt you to actually get the email sent. It gives you a solid draft that you can then make your own. And that is the most important thing. The shift from I don't know where to start to, just having to refine something is so big. And when you're running a business and email is one of the 100 things on your plate, just having Claude there as basically like a staff member in your business, it will help make a massive difference and you will move faster than you ever have before. So the prompts I used in this video, plus the Google Sheet template to put your whole strategy into, are available as a free download. It's called the Claude Email Playbook, and the link is in the description and the pinned comment below. You open it, you copy the prompts into Claude, you paste the outputs into the sheet, and that's it. Your strategy's done, and it will help you be consistent. If this was useful, hit like. It genuinely helps this get in front of more e-commerce founders who need it. And subscribe if you want more Klaviyo and email marketing content, because there's a lot more coming. And drop a comment and tell me if you're already using AI in your email marketing or if this is the push you needed to get started. I read every comment and I'd love to know where you're at. See you in the next one.